Welcome to The Approach Shot, the golf show that's more laughs than links, more stories than strokes, more guffaws than golfers. Here are the hosts of The Approach Shot, John Ashton and Neil Michaels.
Hey, it's time for us. Let's start that again because I talk with my hands and I have things in the way. It's time for us. Us being The Approach Shot. I'm John Ashton. He is Neil. How you doing, Michaels?
How you doing? I wonder if they knew when they were doing Friends that that was going to turn into such an iconic, silly thing to say. How you doing?
You know, I'm probably the one person in the world who did not like Friends. Courtney Cox.
I can't do this with you anymore. Goodbye.
Courtney Cox I liked.
Ew,
a lot.
Really? Of all of the people on the show, she is the one I like the least.
See?
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah, we can't do this anymore.
Before we go any further,
that's the end of it.
Let's break up to make up here.
It is funny.
I had the same problem with Seinfeld, though. I don't like TV shows about self-absorbed, stupid people. And both Seinfeld and Friends were made up of a cast full of self-absorbed, stupid people.
Okay.
You can disagree with me.
I don't agree.
But it won't be the first time you've been wrong.
Yeah. I don't agree. You're not talking about the actors being stupid. You're talking about the characters.
No, the characters. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do agree with that on Seinfeld, and I'm not a huge Seinfeld fan, so that's two of us.
Mm-hmm.
So feel free to write us and DM us and all that kind of stuff. Friends, I didn't think they were so self-absorbed. Well, okay, maybe, but they weren't stupid. I think that Joey was stupid. Chandler wasn't. The others weren't. And I think part of what makes it so cute is because I'll watch them in the afternoon before my wife gets home.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell her. And, you watch one and it's like, oh, that was adorable. I've seen that 35 times. And Phoebe is still cute. And Joey, while he's not the brightest bulb in the drawer, has a big heart and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I think you're missing the part of it that is the friendships and all of that.
Yeah. The Friends part.
Hence the name.
Friends
they
part.
Were originally going to call it Stupid Young People, but they didn't think people would watch. So there you go.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of things people watch,
mm-hmm.
we are now officially 1 week removed from the big game.
Yes,
and
indeed.
I think everybody, no matter if you're rooting for the Rams or the Bengals, were satisfied with the fact that it was a good game, that some of the stars shined and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are in what I like to call sports purgatory.
Oh, yeah.
Super Bowl's over. Baseball is on strike or whatever the hell they're calling it.
Mm-hmm.
The NBA is interesting because we just had a bunch of trades, but in the NHL, I'm just never got to be a big NHL fan. So we're kind of in that blasé zone.
Yeah, there's nothing to watch but golf.
I'm saying, I think this might be because of everything that's going on with the European tour and all of this and some of the recent tournaments, including the one we just had in Phoenix where the crowd went crazy, that golf, this might be the year with baseball sort of on the shelf for right now, that golf may pick up a bunch of viewers.
Yeah, especially if more golf were like last weekend's tournament.
Yeah.
It would definitely pick up more. In fact, I had a discussion about this on the other podcast just last week, that the atmosphere surrounding golf precludes people getting excited about watching it.
Oh, what you're trying to say in your really nice way is that the polite applause and stuff makes it dull.
Makes it very dull. Yes.
And yet every other sport who's allowed to hoot and holler and yip and yang and stuff, that makes it part of the excitement, that if they had more of that in golf, it would be more approachable.
2 cases in point.
Please.
To show how much I agree with what you just said.
Okay.
One is, of course, the Waste Management Open.
Yep.
Or the WM, I mean, come on, people. It's a golf tournament sponsored by a garbage pickup company.
Yeah.
It's the garbage man's tournament, okay?
Yeah.
Everybody on that 16th hole is screaming. There's 25,000 people screaming. They showered the place with beer when that kid got the hole in one.
Yeah.
All right. And nobody complained. Nobody was like, oh, no, you really shouldn't be doing that kind of thing. That is just, take the old men in funny pants and send them to another sport because we don't need them anymore.
There you go. Let me stop you there. I think that part of the perception of golf has been that it's old white men in funny pants.
Mm-hmm.
And if you thin it up, if you let people express themselves, and remember, I was very against this with the Ryder Cup. If you let people express themselves, if you become more inclusive and you make it everybody's game, where people say, man, I wish I was in Phoenix for that. Man, I wish I had seen that tournament. Suddenly it becomes something that's more approachable.
Well, Bubba Watson at the Ryder Cup 4 years ago was another, my second proof of how it works, because he came out to the tee, and you know how everybody's holding up the quiet signs and stuff like that. He's like, the hell with that. He's screaming. He is leading the chants of USA, USA, USA. And he kept them going as he addressed the ball and hit his first shot.
Yeah.
Straight down the middle of the fairway.
So it's possible, huh?
Yeah. You don't need quiet. You don't need to concentrate. I don't care how difficult you think the game of golf is. And we've asked this question, and we may ask it of our guest today, because he plays both baseball and golf.
Yep.
Is it any harder? Do you have to concentrate anymore to hit a 95-mile-an-hour fastball than you do a stationary golf ball?
Yep.
The answer is no way.
Yeah.
Yet these guys, especially our guest today, was quite proficient at hitting 95-mile-an-hour fastballs.
Yeah.
And curveballs, and telling the difference between the two.
Yeah. And nobody ever said when he was at the plate, remember he played 16 years.
Yeah.
When he was at the plate, no one ever said, can we have some quiet?
Yeah. Shh.
Our guest today played in the league for 16 years for a number of organizations, but you will know him best for his days with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Don Slaught, otherwise known as Sluggo. So yes, I can get back on my soapbox about having no nickname that even comes close. Sluggo is going to be with us, and he's got some stories, man. He has got some stories.
He does indeed. So let's go, USA, USA.
Maybe we should come up with a chant of our own as we go into commercial, like the approach shot, the approach shot, the approach shot.
We'll be right back, maybe.
That's pretty cool.
All right. Okay, guys.
Hey, John, you want to straighten your hat, or you want to look like a thug?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. I don't want people calling and being like, so John was thugalicious today. I don't ever want anybody describing you that way.
Not thugalicious, just unkempt. That's all. One. Hey, it is us back again. The approach shot. I am John Ashton. He is Neil Michaels, not Sluggo.
Not
of course,
Sluggo.
that this is a comparison that no one I think would ever make, Neil. So
I think that is true, but I do have to tell you, I have always had nickname envy because I've never had a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So when somebody comes on the show, like Drano was on the show a few weeks ago, and now we have Sluggo on the show, I have really bad nickname envy.
I'm sorry.
Don Slaught, 16-year major league veteran, also owner of Right View Pro and partner in On Base University. Thank you for joining us on the Approach Shot.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And by the way, I'm not the owner of Right View Pro anymore.
You're not?
No, when the pandemic hit, I sold it, and I was coaching at UCLA, and I said, V1 or Interactive Frontiers, which is, the biggest video analysis system in golf.
Mm-hmm.
They took me over and took my employees, and they're trying to get into baseball and softball.
Well, how about
There you
that?
go.
Yeah.
Founder of.
Yeah, founder of. I did found it. I did run it for 17 years. But yeah, that's one of the, John, I was telling you earlier that that's one of the 4 retirements.
Yeah.
And basically what happens is when you retire, you start doing something else.
Actually, can we just say he had a 14-year career? Because for a couple of years he played for the Yankees, and I'd rather not.
Talk about those.
I was actually going to get into that later, but since you brought it up now, Don, one of the things that I find the most fascinating about your career, because 16 years in the major leagues is a very, very, very long career.
Thank you.
You played your most quote unquote successful years statistically were with the Royals and with the Pirates. I think most people know you from the time with the Pirates, but you also played with the California before they were the Los Angeles Angels and with the Yankees. That's a real dichotomy as far as size of a market. As a player, did it feel different?
Yeah, I think each place felt different. I played in Kansas City, then I played in Texas, then I played for the Yankees, and then I played for Pittsburgh. I was in Pittsburgh for 6 years. That was the one that I was most worried about. And I got traded in the offseason, like in December. And my wife and I and my new child flew into Pittsburgh. We're thinking we're going to see black clouds and, black sky. And we came out through the tunnel, and the city was all lit up with the rivers and the snow on the ground. I mean, it was beautiful. It was, and of course, getting to play with Barry Bonds and Bob Bonilla and Andy Van Slyke and Doug Drabek. I mean, we were kind of loaded in 90 through 92.
I always thought that I worked in Pittsburgh for a short while, but I always thought that view of driving from the west through that tunnel and hitting the city, they should have opened Monday Night Football with that. I mean, it was just bam, the way it hit you like that was great.
It was cool.
Yeah.
Well, and for people who haven't been there, coming through that tunnel is an incredible view, and then Three Rivers Stadium was right there, and there are literally 3 rivers that meet right in the spot where now Heinz Field is, where Three Rivers Stadium was, and it's spectacular. And Pittsburgh is very underrated as far as the quality of life, I think.
Yes, it is. I mean, my wife and I that was kind of my favorite team, not only because we were pretty good, but the people were great, the fans were great. It was a time when the Steelers were superstars, but they still supported their Pirates.
I can imagine being in Pittsburgh would have been
go ahead.
I was going to say being in Pittsburgh probably a lot more. You became a lot more familiar with the fans than you would in a place like New York.
Definitely. In New York, there was a lot more crowd control for us. I mean, we could walk out to our cars and no problem.
Yeah.
People were great. Signed a few autographs and head home.
Yeah.
So do you have any idea how ridiculous it is that a catcher hit 307 times, including hitting 345 in 1992?
Yeah. It's the thing that I'm the most proud of in my career is I got better throughout my career. In my first 8 years in the major leagues, I think I hit 260 something. In my last 8 years, I hit over 300. In my last 5 years, I hit over 310. So it was, I found ways to get better. Good information works. And I threw out bad information, took in good information. And even though I was old and slow, at the end of my career, I still hit for a higher average. I was a better hitter.
That's why they called you Sluggo, not Speedy Gonzalez.
I remember watching a replay one time, and the guy goes, "Even Slaught got a double on that one."
It's nice to know your lack of speed is something that's being discussed and pointed at.
But when I signed, I was supposed to be, runs well for a catcher, and then in AAA. a guy slid into home plate and just broke my leg. He was wearing a knee brace and hit me in the shin guard, but it broke my leg. And after that, I wasn't ever as fast.
Yeah. Have catchers?
I got a few bags. Do you got my stats up there? Do I have any? Did I steal any bases? Do I? How many did I get?
You know what? I just happen to have your stats around. I think if I put this up,
5?
it's going to be that or less.
That's not true.
Well,
that's like half a stolen base a year, or a third.
I think it just maybe there was a dry spell there for 10 years.
Well, even in a hit and run or something like that, I would get a base.
No, you had 18. You had 18.
Right? Well, I averaged over 1 a year. How about that?
Right. Let's see. We had your biggest year was in 85. You had 5. In 86, you had 3. But here's the thing you're going to be most proud of. You stole 18 bases, but you got caught 15 times.
Oh.
So just stay on first.
Like they say, runs well for a catcher.
The second sentence. There you go.
Well, also hits well for a catcher because in baseball these days, and anytime anybody says these days, it immediately makes me sound like an old guy. But the fact that the game
we kind of are.
Yeah. The fact the game has changed and we're all falling in love with the long ball and teaching swings that go up instead of teaching line drives. You're not going to get a lot of, forget getting a catcher that hits 345. You're not going to get a lot of people, period, that hit 345. How do you feel about the way the game's changed?
The way the game's changed is, and remember, it ebbs and flows, right? Mm-hmm. The game today is about walks, strikeouts, and home runs, right? And shifts and things like that. Now, Atlanta Braves kind of won the World Series by beating the shift. You saw Freeman hitting balls up the middle, singles up the middle, doubles up the middle. So I know the Dodgers are working on this. Hey, if you get a freebie, take a freebie because the next guy in our order can still hit a bomb. Right. Does that make sense? So get those bases, then hit the bomb. The game's kind of total bases is kind of the way it's played now. How many bases would you rather have? 1 home run in 4 at bats or 4 singles? The same amount of bases, but they'd rather have the home run.
When you first got into the league, that's when the Cardinals had their big run with Vince Coleman and those guys.
The speedsters,
and they played entirely different. It was single, steal a base, sacrifice, and get the run on a ground out. And it's 1-0, and you only had 1 hit.
Right, and Pittsburgh played the same way, but you're also playing to your field. We had turf back then, which if you get a single, you can go first to third. The ball can get to the wall. You can hit, a single that turns into a triple. All sorts of stuff. So Pittsburgh, we bunted when we were good. If leadoff hitter got on, Wally Backman got on, whoever it was, we bunted. Everybody knew it, and Jay Bell got the job done. And then you got Andy Van Slyke and Barry Bonds to get them in. Right. It was a great formula.
Yeah, and it worked.
Until the end. Yeah.
Until
I didn't make it to the World Series until I coached.
We have Don Slaught as our guest here on the Approach Shot, and we're talking baseball, maybe even talk a little golf because, it's a stick and you swing it, right? It's the same game.
You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised who my partner is in On Base U.
Ooh, well, we'll have to come back and we will tease you with that. Hang out, and we'll let you know when we come right back. We are the Approach Shot. Don't you go away. We are back. It is us. I'm John Ashton. He is Neil Michaels. Still not Sluggo. Still no. Somebody do us a favor, guys. Could you come up with a decent nickname for Neil? Maybe we should run a contest or something. See if we can get a decent nickname for Neil Michaels.
That's a really scary thing to put out there. I know we'll have
the list might be fun.
Yeah, it would be. Don Slaught is our guest. 16-year major league career, great catcher. New knees now, because I think probably every catcher has to have new knees eventually.
Well, they're not new. They were just cleaned up. He thought my cartilage was really good for doing what I did for so long.
That's okay. So decent knees for a catcher.
Now see, that's better than, can only steal 18 bases over 16 years. Decent knees for a catcher. It's a pretty good nickname. All right, you teased it. Who is your partner in On Base University?
Dr. Greg Rose, who is the one that started the Titleist Performance Institute down in Oceanside.
Wow.
The way the story goes is I created, when I retired, I coached high school, and I figured out, well, gosh, it's hard to coach high school players if they don't know what they're doing and they don't know what I want them to do. So I created a video analysis system, and I called Major League Baseball and I said, gosh, all my kids are squishing the bug, leaving their weight on their back foot. And I said, that's not what major leaguers do. And they said, we agree. 80% of the kids were quitting at the age of 13 years old. And so I said, what I want is I just need video to prove that the Tom Amanskys that are selling the 1-2-3 method on ESPN are not helping players. They're hurting players, especially when they get to the high school level, when a pitcher can change speeds or throw breaking balls. And so they agreed. And it was funny. They said, we'll make video, we'll get, high-speed video from exact angles and stuff like that. And then a video analysis company came in. And so what I did is I filmed the All-Star game for 15 straight years with 4 cameras on the hitters from 90-degree angles and 4 on the pitchers. And so that we could show a player, you kind of start like this, and here's where you are, and this is where I want you. And so that started Right Beat Pro. You mentioned it at the beginning of the show here. But that's how it kind of started it actually started because my son, I was coaching Little League also. So I asked my son a question about hitting. He goes, Dad, it's easier to show than explain. And he gets credit for me saying, you know what? Yes, I got to prove my points. If I'm going to go up to the high school and they've been taught for, 13 years to do it this way, or 6 years, and had 5 different coaches or 3 different coaches, I said, I have to prove my points. And that's why I went to MLB.
All right.
Did you find it hard to get through MLB, the MLBPA, and the NPF? Was there any red tape involved, or were they behind it?
No, they were totally behind it. I mean, it's about promoting the sport and helping. I mean, like I said, 80% of the kids quit at age 13. Wouldn't it be nice to have 3 million players playing in high school?
Yeah.
And I said, the reason they don't is they're not successful. So they accommodated me. They charged me a lot of money. And then, but what happened is I had to pay them less and less as the years went on, because we were seeing some benefits from it. We were seeing World Series titles. We were seeing, championships, American and National League championships. We saw 17 national champions in baseball and softball. And so they saw the benefit of it. So, when I had to come back and say, negotiate. We're trying to help kids. I mean, it was Major League Baseball, the Players Association. They both got involved. And then the MPF, I needed something for the girls. And so I think it was 2004, I went out and filmed the World Series of the MPF and got all the models, Jenny Finch, so if you're a pitcher, you have somebody to compare against or look at. Nobody got to see slow motion video, or especially softball. So,
very cool.
Yeah.
When you were playing, Don, especially at the height of your career, did you play golf simultaneously? And if so,
yeah, but not as much as the pitchers. Those guys, they got 4 days off to play golf. No.
But how
off days? Yes.
But how much of a competitor to the baseball swing is a golf swing? Well, does one screw up the other?
Well, we were just talked about Dr. Greg Rose, right?
Yeah.
So I was down at Tyler's Performance Institute for we were um, testing some major league players and some minor league players. We were doing 3D analysis. We were doing those kind of things. And in the afternoon, an ex Major League Baseball player came down to get a lesson with Greg Rose. And so I'm standing there, and he's saying, the first thing I got you to do is roll your wrists. He says, baseball players always want to stay like this because we're going to hit. We don't know what speed the ball's coming, so we're going to stay on plane. And he goes, so all I want you to do is just kind of duck hook this ball. Find a way to duck hook it, make it go down and left, right? And then he goes, all right, now that we got you duck hooking, now I want you to swing at that white building 3 fairways over. So I want you to swing at the building 3 fairways over, but then also hook. And I sat there for 20 minutes, and this guy would do 1 good, 3 bad. Mm-hmm. He would either not, close up the face, or he wouldn't swing out there. And so, I mean, literally, I left and went into the simulator, and I said, I can do this. You tell me to do something, I can do it, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of sometimes with your best athletes. If they know what to do, you can do it. And so I went in there, and 2 days later, Greg never talked to me, never watched me swing. 2 days later, I was in Texas for a wedding. It's a wedding golf tournament, right?
Okay.
My first drive was 280 yards. I hadn't hit it 250 in 10 years, right?
Okay.
More than 10, 250.
Right.
And so I had a little draw on the ball. My lifetime friend from 6 months old just went, oh my God, what happened? And I said, yeah, but it's like I said, it's good information works.
Yeah.
And I mean, you still have to be able to accomplish the tasks, but it was great. I won the golf tournament.
Right.
Very nice.
But I mean, I hadn't played golf in a year before that. So
that's one of the major frustrations. I have a very good friend who played softball all through high school, college. I mean, he's almost 60 years old, and he's been playing twice a week his entire life. He will sit there on the tee, and he will complain. He said, I can hit a softball coming at me at various speeds anywhere on the field I want to hit it. But I have a stationary ball right in front of me right now, and I have no earthly idea where this thing is going to go.
So in our on-base youth seminars, which are for baseball and softball, Greg and I kind of go back and forth. He thinks golf's harder than hitting a baseball. And I said, our 7-year-olds hit off tees. You got robots that can golf better than anybody else. Let's see a robot hit a 95 mile an hour, whatever pitch is coming.
They have not invented the radar that could do that yet. No, they have not. Do you have some questions?
I'm sort of looking back at your history. You're coaching now softball at UCLA.
Yes.
Which is really cool.
Volunteer coach. Yeah.
Volunteer coach. So it's sort of like going back. It's like deja vu all over again, because you were an academic All-American in '79 at UCLA. Which do you think is more important for a coach or manager, whether it's softball or at the major league level? Is it more important to have, as a coach, to have talent, to have playing experience, or to have baseball IQ?
All right. I'll tell you a quick story. So I'm at Dodger Stadium. I got Jim Leland. I brought my fraternity brother out with me. And this is 2:00 in the afternoon. We got a 7:00 game. Mm-hmm. So we're out there, and Jim Leland's sitting out in his underwear, smoking a cigarette on the bench. And my roommate turns to him and goes, so what kind of player is Don? And Jim goes, he's an all right player, but a great guy. And I
There's
said,
a compliment.
Well, I said, I think, Jim, that's the way I'd rather have it. Mm-hmm. And he says, not me. I want a great player. Talent. I mean, you win with talent. Mm-hmm. I think the ones that Jim Leland, is probably the best manager I ever played for. Like I played like for 6 different teams. And so I got to see a lot of different personalities. And Jim Leyland was just the best at getting the best out of a player.
That's amazing.
You want to hear a fun story? So do you know Gary Varsho? I think he's still coaching in the major leagues somewhere.
Yep.
And Gary Varsho comes up, and Jim's always said he's a pretty good AAA player. And so
Nice.
I mean, that's how honest he was. You'd never ask Jim a question that you didn't want to hear the real answer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So he puts Gary Varsho out in right field for Bobby Bonilla, right? And Varsho drops a fly ball and strikes out 3 times. And so we're thinking, oh gosh, we're out there stretching the next day, and everybody's kind of shying away from Gary and thinking, oh man, he's going to the AAA, he's going down. And Jim Leyland walks out in front of everybody and goes, Gary, do you wear contacts? And Gary goes, yeah. He says, well, the next time I put you in there, make sure you wear them. So with that one sentence, everybody breaks up. Everybody's freed up to talk to Gary Varsho again. He ain't going down. And Jim said, I'm going to play again. So, that's the kind of manager that he is. I mean, it's one of my favorite stories of him is he knew what was going on, and he unloaded it for the whole team.
Wow. I have one quick question.
Yeah.
Why is it that in baseball, the manager is like baseball's the only sport where the manager actually acts like a member of the team? Whereas
you mean with the uniform
and he's part of the group. He's not aloof and different and pontificating from
not wearing a tie, suit and tie.
Yeah.
Football's a little bit like that, but I think it's the tradition of baseball. And of course, coaches are out there on the field, and wearing the uniforms. I think it's just tradition,
Okay. God bless tradition sometimes, man.
Tradition, all right. Billy Martin.
Yeah.
Tradition. Do you remember the old spot-built cleats? They had leather soles in the bottom.
No.
And they had a little dot in the back. So this is 1990. I think Spot Built went out of business 10 years before that, and he was still wearing his old leather sole cleats.
Wow. Some traditions die hard.
Yep.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
We have a tradition here at the Approach Shot, and is that we ask every guest 6 questions.
Okay.
We call it a 6-pack. It's first answer right off the top of your head, and we're going to do it next when we come right back. Hang out. This is the Approach Shot. And thanks for hanging and coming back to the Approach Shot. I'm John Ashton. He is Neil Michaels. Don Slaught is our guest. Neil has been furiously coming up with some questions that will get to the very soul of Mr. Slaught.
Don, the way it works is we've got a 6-pack of questions. We ask them. We ask you to give us the very first thought that comes to mind. If you hesitate, pontificate, or any other eights, you'll hear. So we don't allow that kind of stuff here.
All right.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm a little scared. I'm a little scared right now.
There you go. Good. Then we have done our jobs. Question 1 for Don Slaught. Fans usually watch batters come to the plate and then they chat for a few seconds with a catcher. What opposing batter did you like chatting up the most?
Robin Yount.
Is there a why?
Oh yeah. I didn't know I was.
Okay, yeah, you're allowed to do the why.
Okay, so Larry Gurra, our left-handed pitcher, was on the mound, right? And in Robin's first at bat, he threw him a changeup. He hit a home run. In Robin's second at bat, he hit a home run to left field on a fastball. And so the third time he came up, Larry Gurra calls me out to the mound. He says, "Don, tell him what's coming." He says, "I ain't fooling him anyways." Right? So for the next 2 at-bats, I tell him every pitch that's coming. And he's yelling at the umpire to tell me to shut up. And, he can't do that. But there on the second at bat, I got to the 3-2 count and I didn't say anything. But it was funny. He never got a hit when I told him what was coming. In fact, there's only one player in the major leagues that when I told him what was coming, hit a home run, and that was, it was Rafael Palmeiro. We're up 9-0, and my pitcher is throwing like 70. Dave LaPointe, and his arm is broke. I mean, he just needs to get that fifth inning in, and so I told him I'm just going to tell people what's coming, and we'll go from there. And Rafael Palmeiro gets up there, and I said, change up down on the way. He goes, he hits it. He jogs all the way around the bases, and he goes, hey, thanks. made me feel about this tall. But that he was the only guy. And I did it with several people just to get in their heads.
Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. All right, question 2. Don, which feels better, hitting that perfect drive, long and straight, right down the middle of a fairway, or hitting a rope for a line drive base hit?
Rope for a base hit.
All right.
It's kind of what I did.
Mm-hmm. We'll get to question 3 here, because this one I'm dying for. Of all of your teammates in 16 years of baseball, who is the biggest practical joker?
Andy Van Slyke. No question. Oh, yeah.
Anything you can tell us?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you always constantly had to check what was on your hat. He'd blow up a bubble and stick a bubble on top of your hat. He'd snuggle up and put something on. Yeah. Andy Van Slyke did lots of stuff like that, lighting people's shoes on fire, that kind of stuff.
You would think it would be somebody who wasn't as good a player because he didn't, he had extra time on his hands, maybe a bench player or something. But
well, no, that was the problem, is when he got a day off. That's when, because he didn't know what to do with his energy. Andy Van Slyke.
I mean,
there's so many stories about him. He's a guy that will do something, and he's got this little angel on his shoulder that he never gets in trouble, right? We're in a batting cage, and he's kind of doing this, and he's hitting a little harder and a little harder. It was the cords to the power in the whole batting cage for all the lights upstage and the machines and everything. He hit it a little too hard and it went.
Oh my gosh, I love it. All right, question 4. One of the jobs of a catcher is to intercept a guy who looks like he's going to charge. Which pitcher kept you on your toes the most, either by throwing at people or by talking a lot of smack?
Gosh, he was a Dodger pitcher. He was into the street fighting with the elbows and and it wasn't me it wasn't me or the hitter that I was protecting. It was Jim Leland charged them out.
Oh.
Right? And I'm catching, and they had hit one of our players. Oh gosh, what was that pitcher's name? Huge guy. And so I run out and I cut Jim Leland off as he's coming out of the dugout, right? And we hit the pitcher because he hit one of ours. He probably hit Barry Bonds, so kind of a response. But we hit him, and he started to go to the mound, and Jim Leland ran out of the dugout. And Jim Leland, he's as frail as anybody, and I get between them. Mm-hmm. And then as we're walking off the field after it's broken up, he goes, "Thanks, Don. He would have killed me."
Oh, job security right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, question 5. Back to the links. What's the most memorable putt you've ever made?
Oh. What do you remember the World Series of golf where the baseball players all went out to Pebble Beach and we played a tournament out there?
Mm-hmm. Now that you mentioned it.
Yeah. Well, I was a 12 handicap, and I rolled one in from 30 feet on, and we just had the tournament. I was just watching the hole. I said, I made the putt on that hole. So yes, and we ended up winning the what do you call it? The trophy for the biggest handicap. Basically, because we had Andy Van Slyke on there with an 18 handicap, and he could par every par 5. He hit it that far. So
wow.
We won that tournament. What do they call it? They call it when you put in too high a handicap and you win a trophy. What is that called?
Well, in a lot of cases, sandbagging is what they call that.
Well, it's sandbagging, but they call it a something trophy, I thought. But yeah, sandbagging trophy.
Very nice.
Let's just say that we won the sandbagging trophy because of Andy Van Slyke. And Andy, if you ever hear this, I'm calling you out. Because you know what? Andy ended up playing on that celebrity tour years later, after he retired.
It's okay.
But I mean, so yeah, Andy.
But he didn't have you to nail the putts.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a major league player, can you have an 18 handicap?
It's, we've talked to a lot of pro athletes who that is a main complaint when they get to play in a tournament like a pro-am or something. The people they're playing with expect them to be great golfers, and a lot of them are not.
Well, yeah, I just think 18 is a max. Then
18 is
and
kind
you
of
shouldn't
pushing.
have an 18.
18 is what somebody says if they don't.
Yeah, 18 is a bit on the high side, and it's almost like when you play and they say, if you hit double par, you pick up your ball. So yeah, that's a max.
Got it.
All right, Andy, question 6, and we say that we asked this.
Andy, you guys can Andy this question?
I'm sorry. So you've Andy'd me with the Andy Van Slyke stuff. Don.
Yes.
Question 6, and let's hope John unfreezes at some point.
Yes.
We ask this of everybody who comes on the show, since we are the approach shot in your approach to life. What one rule do you live by?
Make decisions once based on your goals. So I made decisions that I wanted to play Major League Baseball. So everything would be that. Every decision I made was, is this going to help me make it in Major Leagues? I had the second goal of getting a degree from UCLA, which if I didn't make the Major Leagues, I had my backup plan. So those two things made every decision for me. And I only made them once. So I never had to re-question, do you want to smoke pot or anything like that? Those decisions were made at one time and stayed.
Wow, that's excellent. Thank you for that.
Listen,
you are off the hot seat, my friend.
I hate to say this, but
good.
That didn't get recorded. Can we do that last question again one time, please?
Yeah, because I called him Andy anyway. So
that's the best part of the show.
Yeah, you did freeze on us, John.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And question 6, Andy. No, Don. We ask this of everybody who comes on the show. Since we are the approach shot, Don Slaught, what is your one rule that you live by?
Make decisions once. So, and I base those on my goals. My goals was to get a degree at UCLA and play Major League Baseball. And so every decision was just, will that help me get a degree? Will that help me make it to the major leagues? And it was very simple. It just simplified everything. And you just make it once. Never have to, don't have to revisit.
Very cool.
Excellent. Well, I would like to say you're off the hot seat, but since you actually entertained us more on the six-pack than most people do, I would say you did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, Mr. Don, shameless self-promotion time. Anything you'd like our audience to know about? What's going on, man?
Well, a little bit about On Base U. That's my latest coming out of retirement with Dr. Greg Rose. Basically, what he did is he created what they call the Titleist Performance Institute. And he has 10 levels of certification. And he invited myself and Sue Inquist, the UCLA softball coach, 9 national championships, to go to his level 2 youth course. And we sat there for 2 straight days, blown away at how they teach. They tell you how to teach a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old. They tell you how to evaluate the body so that you're not trying to teach them to do something that they physically can't do. Wow. And as a coach for many years after retiring, I found out that's one of the reasons I missed so many players is I didn't know that they physically couldn't make that move. I thought everything was a coordination thing, like in golf. But now we saw what Greg had developed in golf. and how many pro golfers he's made. He's got 70,000 certified coaches around the world, 56 countries, speaks in 10 languages. In fact, I was supposed to do one this Sunday in Korean, which was going to be hard for me because you have to talk in one sentence and then let them interpret. But anyway, so we saw what he was doing, what he had done in golf. And, that got us thinking, man, we got to create this for baseball. Give stuff to dads that are teaching 7-year-olds, give stuff to, the high school coaches. And that's what we've been doing. We've probably trained 3,000 certified coaches. Most of them are, we got kind of hijacked. The Major League Baseball took them. So we worked with 15, 16 major league organizations. We trained everybody from the trainer to the strength coach to the hitting and pitching coaches to all speak the same language and learn the physical screen to make sure that they're capable of doing the things we're asking them to do. And if they can't, then we teach them how to read the 3D motion analysis, which has been around in golf for 20 years. It's been in baseball maybe the last 3. So baseball's starting to catch up, and we're part of that.
Very cool.
And where can people sign up for that?
OnBaseU.com.
Excellent.
OnBaseU.com. Very cool. Don Slaught, great to meet you, sir.
Oh, thank you. Nice to meet you guys.
And thanks for playing along with us here on the Approach Shot.
And can I borrow Sluggo as a nickname?
Sure, you can use that. Or not Sluggo.
Not Sluggo. Right, I could wear a T-shirt that says "He's Sluggo." No, he's Sluggo.
That's right.
You never even asked how I got the name.
I was. If we've got an extra second, I'm dying.
Go ahead.
It was a guy named Glenn Mickens. He was a very famous coach out at UCLA for many, many years. Played for the Dodgers, and he started calling me Sluggo. He says, "All you want to do is hit." And he said, "Your name is Sluggo." And what's funny is when I got to Kansas City with the Royals, I was on the AAA team playing against the Major League team in spring training. And, I was bunting, stealing, throwing balls, trying to pick guys off. And Hal McRae came up with, "Who is this guy? Yogi Berra?" Right? So for the 3 years I was in Kansas City, my name was Yogi. And then when I went to Texas, a couple of I had 5 major league players that around my team that called me Sluggo. And so Sluggo came back for the rest of my career.
Very interesting. If we combine the two, we could make it Slogie.
There you go.
I might borrow that one.
Yogi Sluggo, Sluggo Yogi. Yep.
There you go. I don't know if he's frozen again, if we're going to have to reshoot this, but at the time there was a popular cartoon character named Sluggo.
Yes.
And
yes.
I wondered
and I heard that, and a reporter wrote that. I said, "No, this all has to do with hitting." Sluggo is the way it came up.
If it was Al Davis,
in college, I broke the school record for batting average, and that's this hitting coach that would throw BP endlessly to me.
Yeah, you hit 4. Well, in college, didn't you hit 435 one year?
I think that's the guy that broke my record 25 years later. But I think 426, 428, something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty remarkable.
Very cool.
Yep.
Don Slaught, thanks again for being with us on the Approach Shot. Great stuff. If you're a Major League Baseball fan, hearing some of these stories are just fantastic. Pulling the curtain back a little bit.
And it is us again, the Approach Shot. I'm John Ashton. He is Neil Michaels. I have decided I am going to do one thing. Don Slaught, I am now going to study his mannerisms and be able to do a very good imitation of him. So I am going to do Don Slaught on next year's Talk Like a Pirate Day. It had been Manny Sanguillen, but now I'm going with Don Slaught.
Go. Very good. I didn't know where you were going with that, but I can say it was very funny. Oh my goodness. We generally, how when you talk about kids, your own kids, you always say to people, I don't have a favorite. I love them all the same, which is a crock. But okay, let's just, for the sake of not turning off every female listener, we don't love them all the same. We try to love them all the same. Some of them aren't quite as lovable as others. Having said that, Don's answer to the first question in the 6-pack is my favorite answer of any question we have done in the 60 plus shows in a 6-pack. It was, he gave the Robin Yount answer.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we pressed him for an example, what he said was phenomenal. And if you skipped over that, go back, because it's worth listening to the entire line of John and I blathering for 48 minutes or whatever it is, just to hear Don Slaught's answer.
Indeed. And we're not going to give it away either.
No, we're not. Heck no.
No. Go back
There's
and
a
listen.
rewind button on your machine. Hit it.
That's right. That's what it's there for.
In fact, go ahead and rewind it to the first show and listen to all of the shows until you get to that answer.
You have nothing better to do with your life for the next 3.5 weeks, do you?
Oh my gosh. I think that's called cutting through the fourth curtain or whatever the hell it is. When we start demanding things of our listeners, do this, go to the website and download stuff and subscribe. And while we're demanding, go back and listen to a bunch of other shows.
That's right. You won't hate us for it. Trust me, you won't.
That's true. That's true. There are some that, like our kids, you'll like better than others.
I took my youngest grandson home today. He stays here a couple days a week because his mama works. And he has an older sister and an older brother. The older sister is very much concerned with being the favorite.
Oh.
She wants to be the favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And she was coming off the school buses. We were arriving at the house, and Nicholas ran to give her a hug, and I waited for them both to come back, and I gave her a hug, and she said, "Well, thank you for waiting, Papa. I know you waited for me because I'm the favorite." and Nicholas looked and he said, "No, we know it's Joe, who's the older brother."
Wow, he took himself right out of the equation, didn't he?
Right out of it.
If it makes you feel any better, my kids used to do the same thing. In fact, still to this day, they're in their 30s now, and they still, he did that because he's the favorite. No, he did that because I'm the favorite. And they fight for it. And I would like to stop them and tell them that's not healthy and unnecessary, but it's so much fun to watch.
When my daughters do it, I go, I really didn't like either of you all that much when you were kids.
Hey, I have to tell you this one thing just before we move on and you say something about bagpipes. On social media this week, I wish I could read it to you. I wish I had it up, but I got an email, or I got a DM, they call them, on social media that said, "Really love your shows, but I wish that one guy would stop with his fake laugh. It drives me crazy. Fingernails on a chalkboard, right?" I guess I memorized it. And I assume he's talking about me because I laugh more than you do.
Uh-huh.
And to him, I said, "Well, I think you're probably talking about me. And the one thing I can absolutely tell you is all of the laughs on this show, 100% genuine."
Yes.
Which was my way of saying, but it's true. I mean, if we laugh too much, sorry.
Yeah.
I'd like to apologize for us having a good time and for us having a good time with you. And I do love the fact that after we finish with our guests, many times we get emails from them saying we had a really good time. So if you're having a good time with us and you laugh with us, you just go right ahead.
It sounds like fair. One thing that will make some of you laugh. It's very timely, so I'm going to bring it up, even though it has nothing to do with anything we've been talking about.
Okay.
I saw a banner that they've just hoisted up at whatever the name of the stadium is in Detroit where the Lions play.
Okay. Ford Field, it used to be. I think it still is.
Yeah, it says our former quarterback just won the Super Bowl 2021-22.
Oh,
So
how'd you like to be Jared Goff?
no.
Yep, they traded for me.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
Oh my
indeed.
gosh.
Listen,
Hey, you gonna play any golf this week?
I am definitely going to play golf this week. We're hitting temperatures of 60 degrees.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I've got the and also, I found out something really weird, that there are grooves in my irons. Do you know you have grooves in your irons? I actually cleaned them out, and it's like, wow, I wonder what these do.
That's
So-
sort of how I feel about my potato chips. Yeah.
I'm going out to the course and see if with clean grooves, if anything improves. But I am keeping in mind at all times that improving or not improving, golf is a game, and it was invented by the same people and called a game that invented bagpipes and called it music.
You're so smooth.
I try.
You are like a shave with a Harry's razor. You are so smooth. Hey, before I say my little bit, I want to give a shout out real quick to Keith Hirschland, our buddy. His book Song Girl just came out. Go order it on anywhere you order stuff, Amazon, whatever. It's called Song Girl, and the author is Keith Hirschland. And he's a great author, and he's a great friend. And so good luck with the book, Keith. And remember, when you get your package from Amazon and you open it, it's like life. It's a gift.
You've been listening to The Approach Shot with the Weekend Golf Guys. If you like this week's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcasts. And find us on the web at approachshot.net.